A woman leaves her partner for freedom, but later returns, pleading for forgiveness. As the truth unfolds, he learns she had been involved with someone else during their time apart. Heartbroken by the betrayal, he decides to move on, realizing some chapters are meant to close for good. Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. I never saw it coming. One day everything seemed perfect. Our life, our love. But then she told me she needed space, that she wanted freedom. She said it wasn't about me, it was about finding herself. I watched her walk away, and in that moment, I couldn't understand what was happening. The woman I thought would be by my side forever was suddenly gone, chasing something she couldn't explain. The silence that followed was deafening. The days turned into weeks, and the loneliness became unbearable. But then out of nowhere, a message arrived. It was from her. The woman who left me for freedom was now begging to come back. She said she made a mistake, that she never expected to feel so lost. She needed me. She wanted to return, but something felt off. What happened to her during the time we were apart? Why did she change her mind? I couldn't help but wonder, did she truly realize what she lost? Or was it just the fear of being alone that brought her back? And what did it mean for me? Was I ready to let her back into my life after everything? I had to make a choice, but I wasn't sure if I could trust her again. The story was far from over, and I couldn't help but wonder. Would I give her a second chance? Or was it time to move on for good? I couldn't get her words out of my head. She needed freedom, but how could someone who once said they loved me leave so easily? I remembered the times we spent together, the plans we made, the little moments that made everything feel right. What happened to that? In the months since she left, I buried myself in work, tried to keep busy, but the emptiness of her absence lingered in every corner of my life. I thought I had moved on, convinced myself that maybe this was for the best, that I deserved someone who wouldn't run when things got hard. But when her message arrived, everything I thought I knew about us came rushing back. I couldn't just forget the pain of watching her walk out the door without looking back. I wanted answers. Why had she left in the first place? What had she really been searching for? Was it truly about freedom, or was there more to the story? I spent days replaying her words, analyzing the tone in her message. There was desperation there, but also something else, something I couldn't quite place. It wasn't just regret. There was an underlying tension, as if she was hiding something. And why now? Why after all this time? She could have reached out earlier, but instead, she chose now to beg for forgiveness. I stared at my phone, uncertain. Could I trust her again? Was she truly asking for a second chance, or was she simply scared of being alone? As I sat there staring at the screen, my mind kept wandering back to the moment she left. The final conversation, her voice trembling as she explained that she needed time to find herself. It was so hard to believe at the time. I tried to understand, to respect her space, but deep down, I knew something didn't add up. Was her freedom really just a cover for something else? Was she seeing someone else? I had my suspicions, but I never wanted to confront her with them. I didn't want to be the guy who couldn't trust his partner. But now as I sat there holding her message, all those doubts started to resurface. What if I was just another guy in a string of relationships she had used to fill the emptiness? What if she never really loved me the way I thought she did? I thought I had finally let go of these questions, but they were back, gnawing at me, making me question everything. Was I just a chapter in her life she'd moved on from, or was I truly the one she wanted to return to? Meanwhile, I could see the change in myself. Since she left, I'd learned to be stronger, more independent. I had built a life that didn't depend on her, and now I was unsure if I wanted to let that go. The idea of letting her back in felt like a risk that could break the new peace I had finally found. But then again, could I live with the thought of letting her slip away forever? Would I always wonder what could have been? I couldn't stop replaying the moments we had shared, but now they felt distant, like a different life. Every time I thought about her message, my heart twisted. She was pleading for another chance, but the words didn't match the woman I had once known. There was a shift in her tone, an urgency, a desperation that felt almost forced. It was like she was trying too hard to convince me, and that made me even more suspicious. And whether she was truly sorry or just afraid of the consequences of her own choices. Did she really want to come back, or was she just searching for comfort, for someone to fill the void that had been left when she realized the freedom she sought wasn't as fulfilling as she had imagined? And then, the strangest thing happened. A mutual friend of ours, someone I hadn't spoken to since she left, reached out to me. They said they had been in touch with her, and without giving too many details, hinted that she wasn't being entirely honest with me. There were parts of the story I didn't know, secrets she hadn't shared. That message felt like a warning, but I wasn't sure if it was meant to protect me or stir up more doubt. The pressure was mounting. The more I dug, the more questions I had, but no answers. And now I was faced with a choice. Do I trust my heart or listen to the growing whispers of doubt? The clock was ticking, and I knew the moment of decision was coming soon. The tension between what my heart wanted and what my mind warned me to do was unbearable. Each day I found myself torn, replaying the conversations, the moments, trying to find clarity. My friend's cryptic message kept echoing in my mind. Was she really being honest with me? Or was there something darker she wasn't telling me? The more I thought about it, the more I realized how much I had changed since she left. I wasn't the same person I was when she walked out. I had learned to live without her, to build something for myself. But could I ignore the love that still lingered in my chest? Could I shut her out completely after everything we had shared? I wasn't sure what to believe anymore. Every time I reached for my phone to respond, doubt held me back. What if letting her back in was the biggest mistake of my life? The weight of the decision was crushing, and the clock seemed to be ticking louder with every passing second. I wanted answers. I needed closure. But part of me also wanted to believe in the possibility of us again. But the truth was, I couldn't see clearly anymore. Not until I heard the whole story. And that moment I knew was just around the corner. The moment I finally decided to meet her, I felt a strange sense of finality. I walked into the cafe where we had spent countless afternoons together, unsure of what I would find. She was already sitting at a table, her eyes anxiously darting around, as though she was waiting for me to judge her. When our eyes met, there was a flicker of recognition, but also something else, a distance, a hesitation. She apologized before I could say anything, speaking in a voice that trembled with guilt. She confessed that the freedom she had sought wasn't what she had imagined. It was a cycle of emptiness, of searching for something outside of herself, only to realize that it was her own insecurities she had been running from all along. But what she said next took me completely off guard. "I never left because of you," she whispered, her eyes welling up with emotion. "I left because of someone else. Someone I was with after I left you." The shock hit me like a punch to the gut. She hadn't just needed freedom, she had been involved with someone else, someone I never knew about. The pain of betrayal stung worse than the loneliness of her absence. But before I could react, she reached across the table, begging for my forgiveness. And as I looked into her eyes, I realized one thing. Some wounds were too deep to heal. I sat there, stunned by her confession, my heart racing. The realization that she hadn't just been searching for freedom, but had turned to someone else in the process, hit me harder than I ever expected. All those months of wondering, of doubting myself, suddenly seemed like a cruel game she had played. The love I once had for her felt like a distant memory, replaced by a sharp, searing ache of betrayal. Her eyes pleaded for forgiveness, but I knew something deep down. I had to let go. The person sitting in front of me was no longer the woman I fell in love with. She had changed, and so had I. I had spent too much time trying to rebuild my life without her, and I wasn't willing to sacrifice that for someone who had shattered my trust. With a heavy heart, I stood up, my decision clear. "I think we both moved on," I said quietly, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "And it's time to truly let go." She didn't fight me, just nodded silently, the weight of the truth settling between us. As I walked away, I felt a strange sense of peace wash over me. Some chapters in life are meant to end, no matter how painful. It was time to move forward, free from the past and ready for whatever came next.